For my assignment this week, I selected the Haitian Vodou, called Pake Kongo, as a non-traditional, informal source that illustrates humanitarian crises in Haiti. The pake is a sacred, decorative bottle that is created to hold and concentrate spiritual power. The bottle is prepared by voodoo priests and priestesses and filled with herbs, roots, oils, and high-proof rum, and other symbolic objects as a connection between the physical world and Iwa, the spiritual world. The pake become a living, spiritual vessel that can harness protective and healing energies. They are often decorated with scissors to cut harmful magic, or mirrors to deflect negative energy, or money to promote wealth and success. Pake are central to voodoo culture because they are central to a holistic health system that treats physical and spiritual ailments simultaneously. The bottle's contents often contain herbal medicine and ingredients to be used as teas, baths, or balms to cure illness. And the decorated vessel is a spiritual prophylaxis that protects the owner from catching infectious diseases or mental illnesses that are believed to be caused by supernatural forces or spirits. In Haiti, access to Western psychiatry is limited, so families often turn to voodoo healers first to treat mental illness. Bottles are specifically prepared to treat anxiety, depression, insomnia, or thinking too much. Voodoo priests also use pake in ceremonies and place them on altars and healing rituals where they serve as a cure vessel and an illness is transferred from the patient into the container. The pake is ceremoniously discarded to remove the sickness from the community. The bottles help to restore harmony between the spiritual and physical worlds, which is seen as necessary for overall health of the community. This approach to health is important to Haitian culture and crucial for the humanitarian to take into account when planning an intervention. Voodoo medicine approaches illness through a holistic understanding of health that integrates the body, spirit, community, and environment. Western biomedicine looks at illness as caused by a virus, a bacteria, or another pathogen. But voodoo traditions recognize that sickness can arise from spiritual imbalance, emotional distress, social conflicts, or disruptions in relationships among people, spirits, or their ancestors. Voodoo healers treat illness through herbal remedies, ritual ceremonies, prayer, and spiritual counseling. This holistic approach reflects a broader Haitian worldview where healing requires restoring balance across several dimensions of life, including history and community influences, and not just addressing the patient's physical signs and symptoms. This approach to health and illness isn't far from the truth when you look at the lived experience of the Haitian citizen and consider how structural violence and social inequalities shape patterns of disease. Poverty, political instability, limited access to quality health care, and the legacy of colonial exploitation influence who becomes ill and why. Modern biomedical models often focus on individual behaviors and choices as a cause for illness, but voodoo healing traditions emphasize that suffering is embedded in social and moral relationships. Many young women living with HIV explain they were sent AIDS as a curse from a shopkeeper after stealing food from a market as a young child, or by a neighbor after having a disagreement. Illnesses may signal broken social ties, injustices, or imbalances within the community. By acknowledging these broader interconnected forces, voodoo medicine offers a framework that helps people interpret and respond to health issues, and it brings meaning and understanding to their lived experiences. We can illustrate that broad community aspects of Haitian health by looking at how the spread of HIV is driven by underlying social instability and violence. Armed conflicts between gangs and political factions disrupts communities, displaces families, and weakens already strained health systems. Conditions necessary for survival can increase exposure and susceptibility to infection. Disruptions to the medical supply chain mean that people living with HIV do not have access to antiretroviral medication, so viral levels are high and increases risk of transmission. Women and girls facing economic hardships may turn to sex work as one of the few available sources of income. Gangs or soldiers carry sexually transmitted infections as they move between regions and eventually back to their home communities. These patterns show that epidemics cannot be understood simply through individual risk factors. HIV and other infectious diseases are shaped by poverty, socioeconomic inequalities, gender inequality, and political violence. Voodoo healing practices remain an important source of support and meaning. Rituals, herbal medicines, and spiritual counseling can help individuals cope with illness, trauma, and social stigma, while reinforcing the networks of care within the community. Voodoo healers address emotional and relational dimensions of suffering that accompany outbreaks of disease. In this sense, voodoo medicine complements modern biomedical care by recognizing that healing in Haiti must also confront the social conditions that produce illness, beyond the pathologic causes of disease. I want to take a brief turn to define the humanitarian crisis in Haiti. Here, we have the quintessential definition of a polycrisis, where multiple emergencies overlap and reinforce one another rather than occurring in isolation. This is best described by a famous Haitian proverb, "Behind every mountain, there are more mountains." Political instability has repeatedly weakened national governance and public services, making it difficult for the state to respond to disasters and health threats. The devastating 2010 earthquake destroyed housing, hospitals, and infrastructure, leaving long-term impacts on the country's health system and economy, unhousing hundreds of thousands of Haitian citizens. Subsequent environmental disasters, including Hurricane Matthew and other storms, compounded these losses by damaging agricultural production, displacing communities, and further straining limited resources. At the same time, ongoing burdens of HIV/AIDS and tuberculosis continue to intersect with poverty, malnutrition, and limited health services, creating persistent challenges for health education, prevention, and treatment. By 2026, escalating gang violence has deepened these crises and reshaped daily life in urban areas, particularly in Port-au-Prince. Armed groups control key neighborhoods and transportation routes, forcing residents to flee their homes and creating large populations of internally displaced people. Displacement disrupts family networks, employment, schooling, and medical access, while poor housing and overcrowding increase vulnerability to infectious disease. High unemployment and widespread poverty further limit people's ability to seek treatment and maintain consistent health care. As a result, there's been a rise in voodoo rituals as people turn to voodoo to help strengthen community-based healing and holistic systems for social support. Today, voodoo continues to function as a powerful source of community cohesion, particularly during periods of social upheaval and crisis. As gang violence and political instability have intensified, many Haitians have increasingly turned to voodoo rituals, ceremonies, and spiritual consultation, as the formal institutions fail to provide security or health care. Voodoo priests and priestesses serve as informal networks of support, offering community solidarity in the face of fear, displacement, and uncertainty. Voodoo leaders are a source of trust and expert advice within a broken community.